Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back. Today, I'm here with Evie and Anitha, and we're going to just talk a bit just about, what we're reading and things like that. And then we're going to get into the meat of this video, which is talking about romance and romantasy and fantasy and why some people may gravitate more towards fantasy or some people may gravitate more towards romance. And then there are a select few that like both a lot. So, if you guys would like to introduce yourselves, go ahead.
I'm Evie, and this is my cat George. If you know of me, you know of my pets. So there you go. It's perfect timing that the cat is in frame. Anyways, my channel is She Was Only Evie. I read a hodgepodge of everything. But this year has been the year of many things. Le Guin, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and romance. So
Very different.
yeah.
I'm Anitha. My channel name is Anitha Gade. I think Anitha
It
Gade
is.
reads
Yeah.
now. I don't even remember. Anyway, I started posting again this just this month. I read mostly fantasy, but as long as I like the book, I don't mind reading any genre. I liked historical fiction in the past. I'm dipping my toe in romance this year, actually, contemporary romance. And so I read everything. I think you can say that, but mostly predominantly fantasy.
Okay, perfect. I just started my reading journey not terribly long ago, kind of like the end of 2022, but really got into reading in 2023. So there's still a lot of genres I have yet to discover, and some I've just dipped my toe in and went, "Oh, I don't know if I like that." And so that has been romance for me, which is definitely why I want to have this conversation because I don't want to be like negative Nancy or negative Noelle. I guess that still works, but I want to be able to get a different perspective and not just because I've watched plenty of videos on romance. Like I'm also on the romance side of YouTube where I watch videos and I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. But I feel like I'm actually talking with you guys and conversating. Maybe you guys can help me.
This is an intervention,
It
Anitha.
is. I think it's accidentally an intervention that I made for
Put up for
myself.
yourself.
All right, so we'll start with what are you guys reading right now?
So I am reading. Ah, here it is. Speaking of Le Guin, I am reading The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Hey, how
It
is
is
it?
not a romance book,
No.
surprisingly.
That's her science fiction, one of her science fiction works, right?
Yes. So this is the Dream Book, is what I'm calling it. It's
Is it part of the same series, Left Hand of Darkness and Dispossessed?
Hainish cycle. I don't think so. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just like Le Guin. I read. So yeah, I have no idea. Doesn't say. But it's very good so far.
That's it.
Okay.
One. You want me to go ahead?
She's
I mean,
already touching.
no, I'm just asking.
That's
Do
it?
you want me to go ahead or are you going to talk more?
I mean, I'm also reading Somebody is Walking on Your Grave by Mariana Enriquez, but this is very slow. I'm doing like one chapter / section a week. So,
That's
Okay.
a new book, right?
yes.
Okay.
What is that? Is that
So, it is a memoir.
Okay.
So, she normally writes fiction. She's written 3 short story collections and a full length horror novel. She's writes in Spanish, translated obviously into English by Megan McDowell. And this is her memoir, and it is her, as the subtitle says, her cemetery journeys. And if you've read Marianne Enriquez before, for anyone that's read Marianne Enriquez, you know how weird her fiction is. Her nonfiction is just as weird. He's an interesting person, I'll just say that.
It sounds very interesting. The premise of it sounds really interesting. If I can call it a premise since it's, a
I'll
memoir.
just say the first chapter / essay is very Mary Shelley coded, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Anitha?
So I am between books right now. I just finished, just as in last night, late last night, around 3:30 a.m. or I should say this morning. Anyway, I finished Tyrant's Throne, which is fourth book in Great Course, one of Alan's favorite series.
Yep.
So I am about to start, or I started and read 2 pages of By Fire Above by Robin Venice. This is book 2 in Signal Airship. So I want to talk about this book. This is actually kind of science fiction. It has airships, so you can call it like steampunk, airships and muskets. But other than that, there are no magic elements. At least in book 1, there are no magic elements at all, or anything related to science or anything. So it's a military uh, fiction, you can call it that. And it is definitely one of the most surprising book of the years for me. And I mean, obviously airships and muskets, so there are battle scenes were there in book 1. I love battle strategies and all. And the main character is the first female captain, and she had to fight, I mean, work hard to get into that. Obviously general doesn't support, women in military, so he doesn't like that. So the other main character is the general's nephew, who came on to spy on her so that he can complain about her, and so that facilitates to general firing her actually. So the book is about the banter between them finding a beautiful friendship. I mean, more than the battle scenes, I loved the dialogues actually. It was uh, I mean, effortlessly funny, hilarious dialogues and all. I loved it.
Oh
Fun
wow.
actually.
Wow, you
Yeah.
really like sold me on that. I've never heard of that before. I've
Yeah.
never heard of the
And
book.
actually that female character is supposed to be my, like, coded to be my favorite character, right? But I like the guy as much as her, if not more.
Okay. I love that. I love a good like the woman is the one who is kind of like in a role that she's not typically meant to be in, like Mulan, for example, is like a more, you know, yeah, great, probably
For sure.
best, my favorite princess for sure. But like, I also joined the military, so I feel like maybe that's my like I love her that much more because of that. Because I'm like, oh, like she's like a hardcore, like
This writer's father served in military. I don't remember if she served actually. So she grew up in that environment.
yeah, yeah, I like that. So like, is it sold as fantasy or sold as science fiction?
I think science fiction, but mostly it was sold as military fiction. At least
Yeah.
if you ask me to sell, I'll sell it as military fiction, because I
Okay.
don't see it. It's set in land actually, not in space, and I don't see any
Is it
science
set on
elements.
Earth too?
Yeah, it is on
Oh,
Earth.
okay.
Oh
Oh,
wow. Okay.
mm.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
I mean,
alternate
I
I
can't
future
even.
history thing.
I
Yeah.
assume it's on Earth. It's never mentioned anywhere if it is Earth or different planet,
Oh, that's interesting.
different world actually.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. And what I'm reading is a secret, and by secret I mean I've been reading this book for like 4 or 5 months. I still haven't finished it, and it's just embarrassing. So like I might as well just not even say anything.
Hey, I have been reading A Game of Thrones for the past 2 months, so you're good.
I
I
You're good.
am reading Song of the Beast by Carol Berg from past 2 months. It's somewhere I have to. I mean, I was enjoying it, but it is slow, so I
yeah.
have
There's
to
no
get
shame
back.
in reading slowly and taking your time with books.
I
Yeah,
read super slow. That's why I like took a break from YouTube for a little while too, because I was like, you know what? I actually have nothing to talk about right now because I haven't read anything. I've just been doing like school and studying Spanish for school. So I'm just kind of like, well, I gotta prioritize some life stuff first. But
I think that's
love it.
completely all right. To go on a different tangent. I mean, at least for me, I this is a hobby, right? I
Right.
want to do it when it is convenient for me, not like some deadlines or anything.
Right.
I don't like it that way.
Yeah. Makes it not as fun that way to be like, I have to every week or twice every week, I have to put out a video, which is the goal. But, it's just, it becomes really not fun at that point. to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Last week I posted 2 videos. This week I'm taking a break. I was like, no, I'm not going to push myself, force myself to film.
yeah.
So we'll see another Anitha video in approximately 6 months.
Hopefully next week.
Now, I must say to anyone who was watching, hopefully you already know Evie and Anitha because they are always in the comments. Like, such great community support that I get from both of you guys as well. So I think it is a little bit of community bullying, but like, we can call it support, but
For
no,
anyone that's
like,
just listening, I was very iffy about the whole community building. I'm like, bullying? Yes. I'm
oh
very
my gosh.
self-deprecating, in case you couldn't tell. So
it's just part of some people's humor. Like, I get it. I get it.
I mean, you have us to, praise you, Evie. I agree about Evie. I mean, she's very welcoming and very thoughtful in the community. Such a great presence in the community, actually.
Yeah. Both of y'all are always in like any video that Alan or Jimmy is posting for sure. Like, to mention two that I tried to be there as much too. And yeah, you guys are always in the comments. Like, y'all are great about it.
you gotta hit that bell notification.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and get into the meat of this video. So I have the same question, but for every genre. I don't know if y'all read romantasy at all, or have tried, or if it's
I tried reading ACOTAR twice. No, 3 times. 3 times? Twice? I don't know. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
The farthest I got was halfway through, and I'm just like, I can't. I've been told, just don't read it. It's the worst. Like, Akamath is better. Just skip it and read Akamath. And I'm just like, I don't.
I feel like you can't do that though.
Well,
Anyway,
I mean, if you've seen Alan's ACOTAR reading vlog, you kind of get the gist.
I did actually, because I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be really good."
I
Even
mean,
though I
to
never
be
read the
fair,
book.
I knew nothing about the plot. All I remember is Jim colored eyes from his vlog.
Oh yeah.
And the right answer
yeah, no,
is
I
true
tried
love.
ACOTAR. I couldn't get into it. I actually read One Dark Window.
We're losing her.
Evie is gone for me. Is it, or
She's gone. She's gone for me too.
Maybe internet problem. Let's wait for her. Meanwhile, I'll answer the question.
You're like, anyway, so my turn now.
So, I'm not. I don't think I read any romance. Do you consider Twilight as romance, Tessie?
Twilight's really difficult because I feel like it is more fiction with some fantastical elements, but I wouldn't really consider Twilight fantasy. But like, there is, the speculative fiction aspects of like there are vampires and werewolves. But I think that's it.
In that case, I don't think I read any any romantasy, because I read like Twilight like 15 years back at this point, and I did not like it. And 4 or 5 years back, when I came back to fantasy, I was like, I am more into epic fantasy and military fantasy genres. And I mean, I don't have anything against romantasy. I am very curious to read One Dark Window, the duology, One Dark Window and
Two Twisted Crowns.
Two Twist. That I'm very curious about that. So there are some romantasy books I want to try, but I'm not sure if they would work for me or not.
Okay, so cautious, but open.
Yes.
To reading it. Okay. And Evie, you were talking and then you froze.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck just happened. StreamYard doesn't like me, apparently.
It's okay.
I don't know what last you heard, but I was ranting about ACOTAR. I do remember that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, so I couldn't get into it, and then I read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. I really, really enjoyed One Dark Window. I was very disappointed with Two Twisted Crowns. And then I read, what's it called? Night and the Moth, Rachel Gillig's latest book. And I could see the writing on the wall that the second book was going to be the same level as Two Twisted Crowns. So I was like, I
Mm,
don't think I'm even going to read it.
right.
I'm very, very slowly reading Laura A. Blake's book, The Forgotten Dawn, which is a romantasy.
Oh, okay.
It is very, very slow. So, yeah, I am open to it. But I don't know. I feel like the romantasy that I've tried, it tries to it either does too much romance and not enough fantasy, or not enough, like too much fantasy, not enough romance for me. So the
Okay.
balance is not
Like
good.
if it's sold as romantasy and then it's just mainly fantasy with a little bit of romances, or the other way around.
I think
Like both.
Mostly the other way around. Yeah.
Mostly the other way. That's what I feel like I've seen, because I was going to have a conversation with Tom, and I did, and because he had just read Fourth Wing at that time, I was like, "Oh well, I don't want to read it, but I will use my library to get the graphic audio book to listen to it." And I think I got about halfway through. There's two parts, so I got almost all the way through the first part.
Mhm.
And it wasn't bad, like it wasn't horrible, but I completely just stopped listening to it because I just didn't care enough. Like
Yeah.
I kind of like the beginning parts where she's just getting into her training, that area, not really with her mom, because some of the stuff with the mom, I remember it not even making sense because she like stood up for her at a certain point when she was talking crap about her the entire like, and I was like, how are you standing up for her all of a sudden? Like this doesn't make any sense. And that's not even a spoiler for anyone who's listening, because it doesn't really even matter, because it was very early on in the story, and I was like,
Very minor, it sounds like.
yeah, it was. And I was, because I don't even remember like exactly what it was. I think she was standing up for her like her condition,
Mhm.
her Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but in all the rest of the parts she wasn't. And it's like the one time she stood up for her, and it kind of felt like the author wanted to throw that in there to stand up for the disease because she also has EDS, but it didn't make any sense for the character of the mother.
Right. Yeah.
And just a small nitpick, but as for the rest of it, not written bad. It just wasn't like entertaining enough for me to keep going.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I will say that I used to be one of those like, oh, you read romance? Oh, I read fantasy. I don't read that romance stuff. And my perception of romance was that it was just full of plot conveniences, character conveniences, which that is there. It's also there in fantasy and sci-fi and horror and in everything. Um, but then I read Emily Henry and I fell in love with Emily Henry. Um, yeah. So
And I think it completely depends on the execution of the book, how the author approaches the character, the depth of the characterization in any genre. Some people uh, classify Six of Crows duology as romantasy, which is surprising to me. I don't consider it as romantasy, and I loved it. That is one of my favorite fantasy series. I mean, it's also the series that got me into reading 5 years back. So
oh,
I think I have that nostalgic feeling. I don't know. I really liked it.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't care if it is romantasy or not. I don't look down on any genre as long as it works for me.
Right. Did you read the series that I think it's a trilogy that comes
Shadow and
before
Bone.
it?
Yes.
Yeah. You read that as well?
Yes, I did. I did
I,
read it, and I did not like it as much as Six of Crows, but it is definitely better than I expected.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
expectations are a curious thing. I think that they play an important role in how we enjoy the book. So I think I read Six of Crows theology first, and I loved it. And when the show came, show was a big hit, right? season 1 at least. So at that time I want to read the books first. I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I'm not going to enjoy this trilogy, but at least I want to watch the show. That was my frame of mind at that point. But yes, I mean, first book is decent. Second book, I liked it little less, but I enjoyed book three. So as a series overall, I had a better experience, better than what I expected. And then I went to show with high expectations. I was a little bit disappointed. So expectations are weird, actually.
Yeah, I heard that the show kind of combined elements from Shadow and Bone as well as from the Six of
Yeah.
Crows.
Yeah.
And I did watch the first season. I don't think it ever did a second, or it didn't continue past the second. I can't remember which one it
I
is.
think
But
they were supposed to do like is it third season or fourth season, and then it was canceled or something?
Only
yeah.
two seasons came out, I think. I
Oh,
watched season one, I never watched season two. But
Okay.
that is, I mean, first book, I understand it's YA, and there are YA tropes that female character is like little naive. But I don't even, that trilogy also, I don't classify it as romantasy. It is fantasy, YA fantasy with some romantic elements. Yes, there is a love triangle, or I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like also a lot of times women writers are more subjected to, if there is any romance in their fantasy, for their fantasy books to be published as romantasy and not get the same audience that like John Gwynne would get, and he has romance in his books, and I think that it's very convincing, very good romance, but I'm just not as like inclined to read if it's like, oh, it's romantasy, because then in my mind I'm immediately thinking this is a romance book, which is not true for all of them, the very blanket statement, but this is a romance book with some fantasy elements that may or may not be fully fleshed out because it's focusing on the romance more. And the
yeah.
other problem with romance and romantasy in general is like the romance isn't really high stakes for me because you know what's going to happen. It's like watching a Hallmark movie. Like you know what's going to happen. You know they're going to end up together most of the time. Like
Yeah.
so, but I did want to get into, and I'll have the same question for each genre, but why do you read romance? We'll get into romance and then we'll go, why do you read fantasy? Because I think that there are different things to get out of both genres. And I will say that for romantasy, the only one that I did try was Fourth Wing, though I know like all of the plot of the ACOTAR series because I'm also on that side of YouTube, like watching the videos. I'd rather listen to someone talk about it and how they feel about it than to read the book for myself because it'll take less time
Yeah.
and something that I'm not as interested in. And I have heard some of the writing that, especially when it comes to the romance plots, the writing is not, it's very cringy to me. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, but
Not my cup of tea. Yeah, no, that's fair. Anything you want to take it first, or you want me to?
It's okay, go ahead.
Okay. So why I read romance? Let me take you back to high school, Evie, for a second. So my technically first romance book, and people can argue about this, was Persuasion by Jane Austen. And it, for 25 years almost, it was my favorite book of all time until it was dethroned. Um,
Are you saying now it's pair cuts, not persuasion?
Persuasion. I know, it's
I,
amazing.
I I didn't even
Oh,
read persuasion, but I feel betrayed.
listen, it's a tear. It's a tear. It's fine. Anyways, so I read Persuasion by Jane Austen. That was my introduction to romance, and Jane Austen is Jane Austen. Like, love her or hate her books have been around for 200 years for a reason. She set a high bar for me for romance, and so I couldn't really get into romance because I'm like, well, this isn't really Jane Austen. Like, what's going on? Like, and when I finally fast forward to last year, I read oh god, what was the one? Happy Place by Emily Henry, which is technically my second Emily Henry. but we'll not talk about that. It's fine. And the same way that I feel about Persuasion is the way I feel about Happy Place. It
Oh wow.
just, there's such a comfort and a catharsis in knowing that there's going to be a happy ending, but still experiencing the characters and what happens to them along the way. But to your point, like, yes, they're like 9.9 times out of 10, we know there's going to be a happily ever after. That's apparently one of the requirements for it to be a romance, is there has to be a happily
Really?
ever after, allegedly. I heard somewhere that if there's not a happily ever after, it's not a romance, it's a love story. I kind of like that quote, but I'm not sure how accurate that is. But yeah, so I fell in love with Emily Henry's writing, her characters, and again, there's just a catharsis for me in reading these characters and still knowing that despite everything that they go through, that everything's going to end up okay. And I binge Emily Henry's books, and there's just as much of character work in romance books as in fantasy or horror, sci-fi, whatever, any genre. And it's really just kind of finding the niche romance that you want, similar to fantasy. Like, I could read epic fantasy and be like, it's not my cup of tea. But if I'm into cozy fantasy, cool. Or if I'm into, I don't know, historical fantasy or something, there's little pockets for everyone.
Mhm.
It's really just kind of finding maybe where your pocket is.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too that you mentioned Jane Austen as well as one of like your favorite, because that, you know, her work, although romance, is oftentimes considered literary fiction,
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
classic.
Right, exactly. It's a classic. So it, you know, comes back to question, you know, why is her books in literary fiction and there are so many other female authors coming out now, or even male authors writing romance, that they're not considered literary fiction, they're only considered like contemporary romance or within the romance genre. So I think that there's interesting, but there's a lot of weird gray lines within the genres that I've found out.
Yeah, I mean there's a whole topic on, you know, genre and like defining genre and what that means. I mean, Jane Austen was writing contemporary romance to her time. Give it a couple hundred years, maybe Emily Henry will be considered classic. Who knows?
Go in the
Time will
literary fiction
tell.
classic section. Penguin House publishers.
Right?
Anitha?
I did not know Jane Austen books are considered as romance. Anyway, if they are considered as romance, my first would be Pride and Prejudice, which I read like long back. Anyway, I don't think I ever approached, I mean, before joining or before finding booktube, I don't think I approached books as a like particular genre. It's just a book somebody recommended to me, or I read somewhere it is good, or I find it interesting. That's all. That's how I approached Pride and Prejudice. That's how I approached Thousand Splendid Suns. That's the Karidi. Yeah. Now, I mean, now I can see it as historical fiction. But at that time when I read it, I did not know that is considered
Right.
so I did not look at them as I did not classify them into any genre. So now after finding booktube only, I was like, okay, this is romance, this is fantasy, and I know my preferred genre is fantasy. But 4 years back, I'm curious, I want to try like people's favorite books. So I think I tried a contemporary romance, Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, that was my first contemporary romance, at least now as an adult. Yes, that's one. And I was surprised actually. I don't say it is my favorite, and it wasn't a five-star book because I was reading a lot of fantasy then. I just came back to fantasy. I was reading a lot, and suddenly, this contemporary romance, there is no world building, and it was like pacing wise, it was off for me.
Mm.
It was slow for me. I was like, okay, they met, band started. Okay, I need the ending. They the
um, okay, you guys met. Problems. Okay, let's finish this up.
yeah.
Let's.
I mean, you already met each other. I want the happy, happily ever after. That's it. But that book, that was the first time I realized romance genre is much more than just romance between two characters,
Mhm.
because I at that point I did not know like all romance tropes, contemporary romance tropes, and I did not know whether every book is like that. So it was new to me. In that, actually, the female character has I forgot,
Fibromyalgia.
autoimmune disease,
Oh, okay.
and male character had trauma from past abusive relationship.
Mm.
So how they found each other, how they found love, irrespective of like what they like problems in their lives,
Mm.
despite them having those problems. I found it very fascinating. I think that was my favorite part of the genre part of that book. It's especially, it was surprising to me. I wasn't expecting it at all, actually. I
Right.
thought it is going to be like Hallmark movie, like they meet cute thing, and some like three-fourth into the book, they'll break up, and then again at the end they'll like come back. Those tropes are still there, but these like very real world problems which
Mhm.
we see day to day in our world, and them finding common ground despite having those problems, which I really liked.
Yeah.
And I did read books 2 and 3 again. I reread that entire trilogy twice. First time physical reading, second time when I was having a rough time with I think Fizz and Fool trilogy. After reading Fool's Assassin, I needed some break, so
Right.
I listened to the audiobooks of them. So again, I did not read, like I did not give 5 stars to them. They are not my favorites, but I really appreciated them. They
Yeah.
introduced me. I started appreciating the genre, actually. Okay, this is something I can get back to. You know, and I think this year I started Kiss Quotient, which I was decent about it. I like the romance. I think it changed when you would like it. 3 years back, I tried Beach Read, actually, which I wasn't a big fan of it. But this year, I read Funny Story and Book Lovers both. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. Oh,
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I didn't know if you're able to move your mic like this
oh,
because the cord kept like hitting it.
oh, I'm so sorry.
No, no, you're good.
Okay. So, I mean, Funny Story as a romance book, it surprised me, and I also started listening to romance in audiobook format, which is very convenient for me. I can read it in a day, and I can read it while folding laundry or something like that. It is very convenient for me. So I read Funny Story, and I loved it as a romance, which was surprising to me, which was first 5-star romance book for me.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and and
Didn't
then
know
I
that.
and then I read Book Lovers, and it changed. Everything changed for me. Book
Oh
Lovers,
wow.
the depth of characterization. I mean, it was
I'm
It's
sorry.
very meta. I'll just say it's very meta.
It is. I read
Very
it.
self. Oh, you did. Okay.
I did. I
it
did.
was.
That's
I
why I
think I
was.
related to it more because it was more about the relationship bond between two sisters for me. I have a sister.
Mhm.
I am very close to my mom, and I was very close to my city, which I moved now. I moved to Canada. That's a different thing. She loves her city. She was close to her mom. She loves her sister. All three things hit me. That it was very cathartic to me. I think that's what I appreciate in romance, at least in contemporary romance. The way I see myself in those characters, how they deal with, you know, day to day problems, in a very relatable way. And you know, I find it like they approach it in very healthy way.
Mm.
That's why I don't like it when somebody criticizes romance genre, even romantasy genre. I i think because we read all kind of crap actually in I mean, there are so many like toxic relationships, even
True.
essay in many fantasy, very
Too
highly
much.
regarded
Yeah.
fantasy as well. And people don't have any problems with that. But there is a healthy relationship, consensual relationship, and you look down on it. I get so frustrated. I'm
Oh
so
yes.
sorry. I did
No,
not
I
want to go to
go
rant.
off, Anitha, because I feel the same way. Like, although I'm not necessarily one for romance, though I'll get into it. But that's also why I'm having this conversation with you guys, because I'm not completely closed off to it. Like, I definitely want to understand, and like even just from you guys talking about um romance and the extra elements that are in it that really speak levels to you. I think that that's really important and something that sometimes can be a little scary to read for me, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to feel, you know. And I also like struggle with OCD as well. So if someone makes a mistake in a relationship, then I'm going to beat myself up and be like, oh my gosh, did I make that mistake? And like, so sometimes I stay away from romance for that reason. And I know that
Yeah.
it's just like an OCD thing that I'm trying to overcome and like pray about and everything. So, but
And
anyway.
I think, I mean, I have no problem if people don't like a particular book, and even people are not comfortable with the romance genre as a whole. That is completely personal taste.
Mhm.
But I mean, I gave only 2.5 stars to second book in that trilogy. What was the trilogy? I
Shadow and
forgot.
Bone.
Huh?
Shadow and Bone.
No, that Brown Sisters trilogy.
Oh.
Oh,
Anyway,
I don't remember what those were called.
yeah, Danny Brown. I don't know. Anyway, book two. I liked both the characters. Sometimes things don't work for us. It doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, but like looking down on it is my biggest problem.
Yes, yes, that makes sense for sure.
I will just kind of add on to
Okay.
what Anitha was talking about. Like, again, to reiterate, I kind of used to be that person of like, oh, you just read romance. Ugh. There's a reason romance is the biggest selling genre. Like,
Yeah,
in modern, well, since book
since
sales
ever
have been a
probably.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, and there's obviously something that speaks to so many people, men, women alike, that makes it to where people want to buy these books. And even though, let's be honest, you're dealing with a finite set of parameters. There's only so many tropes you can use. There's only so many, character interactions or avenues. So there's going to be a lot of repetitiveness. It's going to be tropey in the romance genre. But there's obviously something about the genre itself that speaks to so many people. Um, that makes it like the best-selling genre out of everything. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, like everyone talks about like, oh, fantasy, no one reads fantasy. Well, so why do people read romance? Like, let's see, we'll ask why. Why do people
Yeah.
read romance? And then
Yeah.
instead of just saying, oh, no one's reading fantasy because no one likes fantasy, it's like, well, don't hate on people for liking what they like. Or
Yeah, there's misconceptions about every genre, I think. Like, people think people who like literary fiction are very highbrow, and people who read historical fiction, same thing, and people who read fantasy, people think they're nerds, and then people who read sci-fi, same thing, and then for romance, people think, oh, well, they can't read, and I'm like, whoa, let's calm down. Like that's all of the kind of different things that I hear. Or the romance now, people think, oh, well, they just like reading about intercourse,
smut.
basically.
Yeah.
So um and yeah, so I have tried romance, and I did mention one reason why I don't read it is partly the OCD and stuff like that, and another one is, so it's weird because I liked romance when I was younger. So I read Looking for Alaska, and I loved that book when I was younger by John Green. And his other one, the more popular one,
Fault in the Stars.
yes, The Fault in Our Stars. And then I also read, what was it? I think it was like this lady was finding letters in her house that was written by her husband who passed
Oh,
away.
Yeah,
yes,
P.S. I
I
love
love you.
you.
Love you.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love you. Thank you.
Great movie,
Re-
by the way.
I haven't seen the movie. I read the book when I was in like 6th grade, which
Oh wow.
I feel like that's kind of young for that book to like understand and appreciate that book for the grief and like everything she was experiencing, because I definitely did not understand it at that time. And then Looking for Alaska and The Fault in Our Stars, I read like 15, 16, so those made a bit more sense. And I really liked those books when I was younger. And then I just kind of like stopped reading altogether. Well, really, I stopped reading after elementary school and then only picked up a couple books here and there until 2023 when I really got into reading again. And well, I guess I won't get into the fantasy part, but romance, I don't know, like I love Hallmark romance movies because they're fun and they're usually pretty lighthearted, and they're just kind of turn your brain off and watch it and have a good time, and I feel like romance books can be that, and they can also be very deep, but I don't know that I've read the right ones for myself. I think that when other elements are added in, which they typically are, they're just not talked about as much. But like Anitha was saying, the autoimmune disease, which I'm not sure which one
Oh, that was
she has.
this one. Get away.
Yes.
Playboy.
Because I also have an autoimmune disease, so I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Like, I wonder what it is. And then there's also I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Center.
Ooh,
I feel like
yeah, I heard of Catherine
the
Center.
rom-comers, I think, is one of her other books. I've heard.
Think
Yeah,
so. But she ends up getting this thing that happens to her that causes her to not be able to see faces anymore, and it's like an actual disease. I guess you could call it a disease. And I will say that book was very frustrating, especially the ending. But I don't really want to spoil it for you guys. I don't really recommend it. It was like a 2.5, but maybe that was just me. But it was very frustrating because I felt like the main character was so she was so dumb. I hate to say it, but she was. Um, you can tell from the back cover what the story is, like
Yeah.
all the resolutions and everything like that. So yeah, I guess the question for you guys is, why do you read romance? And for me, it was, why don't I? And I think it's definitely a genre that I'm just not comfortable with yet, even though I like romance movies. I'm mainly on the Hallmark side of things because when things get too like deep, I like I don't know. It like stresses me out and I like, worry about it, and maybe the OCD will come up or something like that. And I'm like, oh well, I know fantasy also has these very traumatic and deep elements and themes to it. But there's a lot more going on than just that being the focus. And maybe that's why I'm able to read fantasy a bit more than I am romance, because I think romance has that ability to make it its main focus is this trauma or this a certain specific issue that's going on. Hi, Mara.
Oh, kitty. Kitty. Oh, this is a cat stream now. Anitha, get your cat. You're not an existing cat.
This is my baby. Like, I have 4, and he needs to be carried. So,
What's his name?
Moto Moto.
Moto.
You know, in Hindi, moto means moti or mota means fat.
It's perfect then. No, he's actually like really fit. Like, he's the most muscular cat I've ever seen. Okay, what are you doing? That hurts.
Ah,
His claws in my neck.
Oh no.
Okay. Censor?
Listen,
Anyway.
we had this cat's butt on here, so it's just, maintaining.
He wants to go on his tree.
okay, where
heard
do
you
you
little
want to
chirp.
go?
Oh my gosh, are you gonna go somewhere? You
At
step
least
on
he
my-
didn't launch himself off of your
He
neck.
does that all the time, though.
Ugh.
He'll like get on me, and then I'll have to like have my back as like this, so that he can sit there, and then he'll scratch my back, and it hurts. And I'm like, "Oh." Yeah. Anyway, so after that
So,
tangent,
back to romance, though. Do you like horses?
horses are good. They're cool. I like horses in real life.
Okay. I'm
Used to play horse games
gonna
on, like,
recommend to you what I
PlayStation 2.
told Anitha not to do.
Oh,
I'm gonna recommend Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage.
oh gosh, I've heard of that one.
So it's the second book in the Rebel Blue Range series. You don't have to read the first one. Hold on, Anitha. Wait a second. I think it is such a good balance of character depth while still being like very sweet. You do have to be okay with smut though, because there
Oh,
are.
I'm
some
not.
smut.
I'm not.
Okay, never mind. Never
Okay.
mind. Never mind.
Like, okay, so like even in fantasy, I am like you were saying, people are like, "Oh, I'm okay with this," and they don't talk about it. That stuff doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you recommend a Game of Thrones to somebody and then you don't mention Daenerys or other things that happen in the book, I skip those parts.
Yeah.
Like, I skim it. I don't even skim it. I just try to skim to where the part is over, so I don't have to read any of that, because that is not for me. And I said that even like in my review of A Game of Thrones, that like, for example, George R.R. Martin talked about breast way too much.
Hmm.
Yeah, he mentioned it quite a bit. Like, a lot of the times when a female character is introduced.
Really? Why nobody told me that? Okay.
I must have never picked up on it so far. I'm like halfway through Game of Thrones, so
Yeah, and like I think that George R.R. Martin, though, when it comes to the sexual scenes that he has, they're not romanticized. It doesn't feel like they're romanticized at all, which I think I can also appreciate that, because I think that fantasy writers fall into that trap, or have fallen into that trap a lot over time, where they put SA in their book and they romanticize it, and they make that the only female's like hardship, and that
her whole arc is
her whole arc
hinged
is
on that, yeah.
exactly. And I think yeah, that's one of those things where I will definitely talk about it and say these things were not for me in this book. But A Game of Thrones is, I think I had it at a 4.5 or a 5, I forgot, but or a 4.75, because I do quarter stars because I'm particular. But yeah, so I like romance in fantasy, but I don't like smut.
Got it. Okay.
I okay.
You were going to say
In-
something about the Rebel Blue Ranch as well.
Oh, that's okay. You were not going to read anyway. I was going to ask. I mean, I was going to tell Evie that yes, I just read Swift and Saddled earlier this month,
Nice.
but I don't think it has that many horse scenes. You know,
There's
Oh.
so that's why I
still
was like,
enough
when
that if
she.
somebody doesn't want to read the scenes, it's not gonna be a good time.
Okay. Anyway, what I want to say is yes, compared to Emily Henry and other romance books, contemporary romance books, Rebel Blue Ranch has more smut, which
I'm
I'm
sorry,
getting.
my husband's like rolling around on the floor. I don't know what he's doing. Go ahead.
Which I mean, I do understand that not being comfortable with smut, but I'm getting good at like ignoring or just moving on.
Mhm.
I mean, I can compartmentalize very well sometimes, so I can like easily focus on the other parts of the book.
Okay.
On the flip side, meanwhile, I'm like, give me more smut, please.
And that's like some people's cup of tea. For me, I hate it.
I will say that like with anything, if it's gratuitous, I will hate it.
Yeah.
The authors that I have read romance from, their more intimate scenes serve the plot rather than the plot serving that scene, and that being, no pun intended, the climax of the book.
Yeah.
And finish your thought, Evie.
Oh no, I was gonna kind of mention as a like an aside of like talking about George R. R. Martin and his more physical scenes. It's just interesting, like literally the female gaze versus the male gaze. Like,
Yeah.
if a female writer had written that, like people probably would have been like, "Oh, it's a romance book. It's terrible,"
Right.
or whatever. But it's George R. R. Martin reading it, so I think Anitha mentioned it earlier. Like, get a pass. It gets lauded,
Right.
what have you. As an aside to my aside, I think Robin Hobb has the best sex scenes written ever. And they're not like, blink and you missed it. It's like, wait, that was a scene? Like, it's truly beautiful writing.
When it comes to consensual, I hate Robin Hobb's non-consensual scene. I'm not going to talk about it here.
I haven't
What
got to that point yet, so.
What I want to say is, be it contemporary romance books, so far what I have read, all are female authors, and even though there is smut, so when that scene is there, yes, the descriptions were there, but other than that, there was no focus on unnecessarily on breasts or anything. That's why I think I'm more comfortable. But
Yeah.
in other fantasy, mostly when it comes to male authors, they, without context, they mention that. That's where I get uncomfortable, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
The gratuitous feeling of it.
I will say the Witcher, the first book, or I guess the first collection of short stories, I think it's The Last Wish is the first one.
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds right.
Starts off, the first short story is a sex scene. But that, for some reason, the way it was written didn't make me super uncomfortable. It just made me question, why is this the opening to your book? Although I know that they were published as web novels, but if that was your first web novel, then you just went completely like away from that. Like, were you trying something and then you went, never mind, I'm gonna write about fighting monsters and like fairy tales and stuff. Like, I don't know. But I thought it was a very odd way to open up his book, but it wasn't super gratuitous scene, or at least not too much for me, and it was consensual as well, which is always important. And I feel like it being non-consensual it's a part of life, unfortunately, but I think there are ways to handle it and ways to definitely not. So and what's interesting too about Robin Hobb is she does have a sex scene that's kind of closed doors, but you're getting all of the main character's emotions, and they're very young.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also interesting because like you wouldn't want it to be super gratuitous because he's young.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is a part of young people's lives, again, unfortunately, and especially in those times, which I hate that in those times excuse,
Yeah.
But I think you guys know
Anyways,
what I mean. Because it's a part of life, but I don't feel like it always has to be in there, but I feel like she handled it well as like these are young kids like not able to control their emotions, and
there's an intentionality there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I could definitely
very
feel that and see
relatable
that.
as well. Actually, Hobb, I mean, she wrote Fizz from 5 years old to almost
Exactly.
till like was old. Every part of the age we can see, yeah, it's believable. Yeah, he's 15. Yeah, he's 20. Yeah, he's 30. It is very believable actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Everywhere he acts appropriate to the age.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say that I tried romance last year, and I read Book Lovers. I read Hello Stranger, and I tried Happy Place, but I DNF'd at 85 pages.
I
Which
do remember that.
I know that you love that book. Now, for me, the problem is all of the friends sound like the exact same person. And even as I read Book Lovers, all of her characters' voices sound very similar. And for me, the beginning of Happy Place, when it comes to the romance that we're supposed to be rooting for, when the main character is thinking about the man for the first 85 pages, I'm sure it changes as it goes, but like I couldn't take it anymore. The only memories she had of him were lustful memories, which I think it's normal to have some of those. And they had a really long relationship. But if you want me to root for them, then I feel like I need some emotional attachment other than saying, oh, yeah, we knew each other for 10 years. Oh, also, I remember this one steamy night. And it's like, okay. And like, that's her only things is talking about physical attributes of him as well as physical connection that they shared, which again, it's very important. But it felt like that was the only thing that was like driving her to think about him.
Yeah.
Which there's also the one bit trope and like,
Yeah.
so those thoughts are gonna come, but I stopped before they even like had their first night there or whatever. But I felt like, at least in the beginning of the story, I feel like she needed to, for me, grab me with why do they love each other?
Yeah.
Because it felt like, why do they lust for each other? You know?
Yeah. So for me, so Happy Place is a second chance romance. So for me, it was finding out why are they not together? Like if they love each other so much, why are they not together? And finding that out over the course of the story, again, was very cathartic. Again, Persuasion is also a second chance romance. See the parallels? I'm just saying. But it's Bookborn actually did a video last week or the week before, where she talked about the question of there's always the thing of men writing women. So men writing women gratuitously, overly physical attributes, just focusing on those aspects. And the question that she posed was, well, why does no one talk about women writing men?
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of, I'm paraphrasing Bookborn, so don't quote me on this. Don't tell her that I quoted her and said this was her saying it. But essentially, like, the same arguments that women have had against the gratuitous kind of objectification of female characters in really all of fiction, especially fantasy. I should say in a lot of fiction, especially fantasy. The same arguments men have about romance and their perception, specifically their perception of romance, that the men are just objectified and described physically, which at times they are. And it's like, well, it's our turn, ladies. It's our turn.
I guess, like, to be fair, I have a problem with it both ways. Like, I definitely
same.
like
To
see
be
it
clear,
in both genres. Yeah,
I do not endorse objectification. Just saying.
of anyone. Yeah.
In my fiction, if it's a romance book, we know it's going to be consensual. So
Okay, one point I want to say about Bookborn's video is, of course, Bookborn was very articulative and very polite about it. I am not known for my politeness, you all know. What I want to say is, see, if someone says, suppose Bookborn took feedback from male readers. When they say that, yeah, it doesn't make them comfortable, men being objectified like that. Most of us understand that when if they don't read romance or romantasy, we don't judge them for that. Unfortunately, when we make those kind of complaints, we are told to ignore that and enjoy the rest of the book.
Yeah, like, oh, it's a part of the time period.
Exactly.
Yeah, or if that's just the way men think.
Yeah.
Like,
that there was no understanding there. They get defensive.
yeah.
Lack of
Yeah.
empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there are times where it makes sense. Like I've heard like Jim Butcher that it starts out really bad, but that Dresden's also younger guy to start out with, and then it gets better. And so I think if that's a main plot point, is to have a young male or even a young woman who thinks in an objective way towards men or women, whatever, that if that's a plot point, that they overcome that and see the value in the person, that could be a very strong plot point to make and a very real life, realistic thing to talk about. But if it's just a part of the story and it just continues on, then it's just like, okay, is this your characters or is this the writer?
Yeah.
Like,
Again,
saying
going
these
back to
things.
intentionality. Like
Exactly.
Hyperion by Dan Simmons, if you've ever read that. He's got a story in it's so the premise is that seven pilgrims are going to this planet called Hyperion for a quest, a whole purpose or whatever. And each person is sharing their story on the trek there to this planet. And one of the stories, so let me backtrack. Each story is told in a different like genre style. So one is horror, one is like military, to the point of complete and utter like it's crazy. It's a crazy story. One is like more poetic literary fiction. One is just pure heartbreak and it's a tragedy. And then one is actually it's called The Detective's Tale, and it's written like a noir. So you get the stereotypical detective noir beats and tropes. However, the detective is female. So you have this female character objectifying the men around her. And it's really interesting because, again, intentionality, like you can tell he's playing with and kind of going against the noir tropes and beats, kind of calling it out a little bit. So
I will say too that going back into romance and having these specific themes, I think that it's important to sorry, I'm reading what y'all said. I think it's important to follow through with what you started, because I find that a problem with some romance books too. So there's times where they may get this disability and then they overcome it by the end of the book. And I'm like, well, that's just not very realistic.
Yeah,
you know?
the plot conveniences and character conveniences irk me.
Yeah.
Regardless of genre. And that's actually something that I've experienced other than, I mean, it was in One Dark Window, but I was just having too much fun with the whole vibes of it that I was just like, I can forgive it. But like, of the romantasy that I've read thus far, that I've finished reading, to be clear, a lot of it is full of plot conveniences and like people are acting convenient for the situation, and there's a little bit of not shallowness, but like half-bakedness. Like the ideas are there, the characters are there, the world's there, but it's like, okay, commit to it.
Exactly.
Go 100%. But Anitha, you're gonna yell at me about something.
No. Just a question. Are plot conveniences different from Here Comes the Cavalry?
I would say yes. It's like if the Deus Ex Machina, whatever it's called, is in a romance. Like, but I would call them also maybe think about, instead of a plot hole, it's like they're putting a bandage on a problem and saying it's good, and they've fixed it, and they didn't go over what the whole problem was. So like if someone gets a disability,
like hand wave away.
Exactly. Like someone gets a disability part way through the book, and then the end, oh, they're all better. That's a convenience because it's not realistic.
Because, like they I don't know, say like a character lost a finger or whatever, but then by the end of it they need to have their all fingers for something to happen conveniently.
Okay,
they were able to get all of their pinky back.
Their cousin's best friend is a pinky surgeon, and they get their pinky surgically put back on for free. So
Me personally, I mean, people don't like Here Comes Cavalry too in fantasy, but I don't have any problem.
yeah, I like it.
I want people to survive. I want people to
Yeah.
get help, right? I'm very happy when there is Here Comes Cavalry. Hey, they are going to get saved. And plot convenience is all, when it comes to it, I think it depends. uh if somebody is like feeling better or happy, I'm always happy for them. I'm very simple in that way. But I get your point. Yeah, there are some cases I was like, okay, it's convenient. Yes.
Yeah.
I,
Cuz I mean, I think it's especially the disabilities part that bothers me because it's not just a they're having an argument and it's like fixed for whatever reason. It's like this could be a serious problem for many people, which you can't please everybody. You can't always go and, help everyone with your books, but I feel like there's a bit more tact that could be used when handling those sort of situations that I'll just say in Catherine Center's book, she did not do it very well because I would have felt better if the problem persisted
Yeah.
instead of it being
Yeah.
solved.
Yeah,
when it
especially with
comes,
things. Sorry, I was just gonna say, especially with things like if you're dealing with chronic illness or
Mhm.
things that have real life like
Yeah.
effects. Like it's not going to be just boom fixed.
Yeah,
People literally live with that, and the characters should have to live with it as well. And that would
exactly.
impact everything in their life, not just in this scene. It impacts them. In this scene, it conveniently doesn't. So
That's what Fourth Wing does. Honestly,
okay.
like because like I also have some chronic health issues and lots of injuries and stuff from being in the military, and so it makes sense to not constantly be like, "Oh, this hurt and this hurt and this hurt," like but it kind of felt like it would be mentioned and then just kind of drawn back, or there were certain magical things that made her better, which can be good. Like, for example, one of the ways that I actually do like it is in Avatar with the Blue People movie. If you guys have seen that,
yes, first one I saw it.
yeah, don't watch the second one. Just don't even worry about
I've
it.
never. I just can't get past.
So he was in the Marine Corps and then got injured and then he's in a wheelchair and then he's able to go in the simulation to be
Yeah.
a part of this world. And what's interesting is that he is never healed. It's only this version of him, which I think is really a really interesting way to handle the disability. Is that like the story and what happens in the story doesn't heal him, but like there are a lot of emotional things that are healed within him from being able to kind of walk and run again, but it's not him, it's kind of like another
Yeah.
version of him. It's very interesting. So, but
I think it is challenging for at least contemporary romance authors because they have this pressure to get to that happy ending fast, because most of the romance books are like 300 to 400 pages, and they have to give a happy ending. I don't know if that's a rule of the genre. So it takes skill to deal with it. And at least for me personally, Get a Life Chloe Brown author handled it very well. She never ignored that autoimmune disease, even though female character dumbly climbed a tree to save a cat. She criticizes herself. What an idiot I am! Like, I have this problem and I am, because she can't get down. She was terrified. Anyway, so but at the same time, my knowledge of autoimmune disease is what I have seen and what I have read. I don't have personal experience. So whatever the author writes, I tend to take it on the face value. But people having that personal experience might not take that, might not forgive that.
right,
So that personal experience play a role as well. So I don't think authors can satisfy everyone with any
definitely not.
condition. Yeah.
Definitely not. But I think if they want to include disabilities, they should, like we were saying, go all the way and continue to include it and make it something that
Integral
has
to the story.
value.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, not just like a I'm putting in here because I need to, but like why?
Yeah.
Or like I think it's very important for people who have those experiences or know people that have those experiences, loved ones that want to write about it because it's important to them. I think that that's also a good thing to do. I think there's good intentions, but it's just not always carried out in the
Yeah.
best way.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I also wanted to say that you guys both really liked Book Lovers, right?
Yes.
I think I rated that a 2.
It's
All
I
right,
know.
I'm
Okay.
leaving. No.
Okay, so I was in. Okay, it's one of those romance books that you would think I would like because I like Hallmark movies, and it's supposed to be a Hallmark movie flipped on its head, but it was too on the nose for everything with the Hallmark that it was kind of like, okay, like you just being annoying about it. But I think a lot of people could find it very endearing. I was just kind of like, not this, you know. Or like the main character, I didn't really like her that much. I don't really remember anything about the male main character. I don't. Oh, and when they were talking about weird stuff within the writing publication, I'm like, why is this in here? And then the stuff with the sister was the most interesting part to me because I also have a sister. And then the end was so disappointing because it's like, why was this a big deal? Such a letdown because it just didn't even. It was very anticlimactic for me.
I think at least see it depends on what we want from the book, at least for me. For me, I want them to get together, I want them to happy, so it made me happy. So if you want the book to be realistic and those people face the problems they have in a realistic way, yes, I can see people not liking it. But not,
Yeah.
that's not how I approached it.
Yeah.
When I started it, I messaged Evie, if something happened to this character, I'll be furious. She was like, it is romance, don't worry about it. So I don't want, I when I approached, I mean, in fantasy I understand my favorite characters die all the time, I cry all the time, but at least for me, I read romance as a palate cleanser,
Yeah.
for me to forget all the problems and see people happy and me feel giddily like happy for them, live vicariously through them. That's my
Yeah.
only expectation. So I like that they found a way to be together. That's what I want. I don't want realistic things. I mean, yes, I'm such an oxymoron. I said I liked because they face realistic problems. They are relatable. At the same time, I do want them to, be happy so that I can live vicariously through them. So
Yeah.
I don't, and also I acknowledge that there are many flaws in book lovers actually. It is from first person POV. We don't get the same depth of characterization of male character actually.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of depth of characterization of only female character. So it's not exactly same. And also there are some different problems for people. Um, like suppose it's a very silly thing actually. Suppose there is I mean, not for me. It is very serious thing for people actually. I'm sorry. I don't want to dismiss anyone's problems. But there is that sister is a vegan. I'm not sure if
Oh,
she called herself a vegan, but actually she did not eat meat growing up. I'm spoiling the book. Am I?
Yes, you are.
Sorry. Anyway,
I didn't
they
know that. I forgot, and I read it, so
You're gonna spoil. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
okay.
Don't spoil it. You're gonna spoil it.
This
we can
scene
talk
that
about it after if you want to continue your
Yeah.
point. Yeah,
yeah, let's not spoil. I don't have okay, I will say this.
I'll
I
cut it
don't
out.
I don't have any problem with it because growing up, many Indians are vegetarians actually, and there are different levels of vegetarians I have seen. Like some people are pure, very strict vegetarians, some people don't eat only on particular days. Like, and doctors are also very used to that. They were like, okay, if you can eat, you eat meat for protein, otherwise compensate it so it is, I am very flexible in that, so that's why it did not bother me, but it definitely bothered some strict vegans. So that it depends on the personal experiences also, personal priorities as well, what triggers you and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So just because it worked for someone doesn't mean that it has to work for me or you
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I think we should be able to forgive ourselves and give ourselves that kind of grace.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
And oh, go ahead.
TLDR version for Anitha, and I'm gonna translate for you. Anitha says, "Read it better."
I did.
I went into it. I really wasn't expecting much. Like I wanted to have a good time. And like I said, like my favorite part of it was the stuff between the sister. And I thought it made it a very convincing story until the actual conflict was revealed. And I was like, oh, well, that's boring. Like,
So on the flip side,
so me and Jimmy had the same opinion about that part.
So on the flip side, the whole like stereotypical Hallmark aspect of it, like I loved it because the meta quality to it. I'm like, I see what you're dropping. I see what you're putting down, Emily Henry, and I'm picking it right back up. We're like, this is great. I loved just the meta quality of it, and I genuinely, this was the only romance book where I had messaged, I think, Yolanda and Laura. And I was getting towards the end, and I'm like, I know this is a romance book. It's supposed to have a happily ever after, but I genuinely do not know how this happily ever after is going to happen. Like, I had no clue. So, on the flip side, the reveal at the end, how everything became a happily ever after, I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. Like, I did not expect this. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It for conflict wise, still better than Catherine Center's Fellow Stranger book because everything was so convenient that it was frustrating. And I was like, this could have had potential. Like, I feel like that's how I feel with romance when it comes to the conflicts, not necessarily the main two characters, but if there are side conflicts that are meant to be a bit deeper themed or whatever, when they're solved so easily, I'm like, you had something there.
yeah.
And then you
had
took it
potential.
away. You had it there. Yeah, exactly. And I think that is another, like, one of my big drawbacks with fantasy. With romance is that. But I was thinking about my next question, which is something we all relate to, which is, why do you read fantasy?
You want to take this one first, Anitha?
Okay, sure. Okay, it's not simple answer. At least there are multiple answers. I think fantasy gives us a perfect opportunity to explore a real world problems in a very fantasy setting. You know, we do see like uh, overthrowing tyrants, all those things. Take Harry Potter. I mean, it's all about, kids coming together and stopping a genocidal tyrant. If I mean, he's not exactly a tyrant, he's not the king, but you get my point, right? And it also gives us a perfect opportunity to see that how a person um, you know responds to some problems. It is it kind of gives us a window, and it also, I mean, one of my favorite things is like traveling the world, and fantasy gives us a perfect chance to explore, take us to multiple worlds from just our houses. At least that's all I can think about for now.
I definitely agree with that. I feel like fantasy has all the elements that other genres have, but authors have a lot more flexibility in creating what they want, what they really, and being able to use their imagination. And maybe there's something kind of nostalgic about fantasy for me personally that I feel like connected to, because growing up watching Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings movies, because I hadn't read the books yet, because I was way too impatient to read the books when I was younger, I kind of like really, and Aragon. I also watched. I also like my family liked that movie, and like a lot of people hate that movie. But anyway,
It's also the sorry for interrupting. It's also the only place where we accept kids fighting monsters. In real
true.
world, we
Yeah,
don't do that.
yeah, that is true. Now my cats are fighting on my desk.
All I hear
Convenient.
is cooing, and I'm just like, it's so great.
Yeah, my deaf cat makes funny noises when
Yeah.
he's fighting. So, anyway, so it's those elements plus there are so many different things that can and do happen to characters that I feel like there's, like I said, a lot more room for different plot points for characters to overcome a lot of different things. Whereas if we're kind of set in some romance books or even literary fiction books, depending on how like vast their story is, like how long their story is, because I feel like fantasy generally is more accepted to be kind of like the longest like series and all, um to be able to have like more problems for their characters and problems in different places and things that are only like regional or by location, whereas you may be able to read multiple different fiction books that give you those different points, but it's all in one book for these different people and what they may be going through. And um there is the romance aspects of it, and I find that romance as a subplot I like a lot more, and I root for it a lot more because there's other things to focus on, there's other things going on, and when I get the little crumbs of romance, that's what I really like. Like, I want to be, like, wanting for the romance and not going, "This is the entire plot."
Yeah.
But yeah, and then just, I mean, swords are cool, and I like urban fantasy as well, like steampunk type fantasy. I think Liza Lockmore kind of fits in that, urban fantasy genre. So, and that's one of my favorite books. And I think there's romance in it later, but I haven't gotten to those books yet. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah, we'll get into it later. If I say anything about it, it'll be spoiling it.
Yeah, for me, like fantasy is it. Just gonna reiterate what I said for romance. Like, the fantasy that I love is just when I read a story or characters where I feel a catharsis through their characters, through their trials, through their tribulations. The fantasy that I most connect with and why I enjoy the most thing that I enjoy about fantasy, I should say, is that oftentimes it's so character focused that you can really dive into the psyche of a character or multiple characters. And to your guys' point, like it is longer spanning either over multiple series or, I mean, I think fantasy is the only genre of literature that, you could say, oh, $500, 500 pages is short.
Right. Yeah.
For anybody else, that'd be like huge.
Super long. Yeah. It's like 3 books.
So
It's only 4 books. It's only 5 books.
yeah, exactly. And so like
It's only
you have
14 books. It's
you
not the
have
one
the
in.
time to spend and really dive in, ruminate, luxuriate in the characters, in the world, in the period, in the prose itself. And just thinking about like my favorite like fantasy books like Robin Hobb, Spear Cuts Through Water, Winter Night Trilogy by Catherine Arden. I would argue like those are romantic. There are romance elements to them, of course, but I would argue they are more romantic than romance. And I'm also a classic like literature nerd. I love the British romantic period. So me kind of zoning in on that type of fantasy where it is more romantic with a capital R sense of the word, it felt like coming home to me and getting a kind of in touch with a younger self. And I just feel just comforted by fantasy. I feel I just feel like I'm home with fantasy.
Yeah.
especially with the character focuses. Like
Yeah.
Fitz, even if you've only read the first book, reading Fitz's books is cheaper than therapy. I have literally said this to people. It's cheaper than therapy. So
Fair. Yeah. And Robin Hobb, to be fair, like she has very atmospheric, comforting writing. Like when I'm reading her writing, I feel like I'm in a winter cabin sitting next to the fire, like with the dog, like just cozy as could be. It's cold outside. I'm getting a
it's
little bit of
still
breeze.
so dark
I'm so warm
at the same time.
Exactly, but still so dark at the same time. And I feel like that's a lot of the reason why I like fantasy too, is because there is a comfort for me, but I also feel a lot more connected to the characters, because I have found out that I have a really hard time connecting to characters in books. Like I feel very connected to Lord of the Rings characters and Harry Potter characters because I feel like I've known them my whole life. But when it comes to series that I'm just starting, I don't really care because I don't really know them.
Yeah.
Which is strange because I am a super empathetic person when it comes to real people. Like if I'm watching the Great British Baking Show, for example, and somebody's telling me about their grandmother, I'm crying. I cry like almost every episode of the Great British Baking Show. So it's like not that I don't have feelings. I just feel like it takes more for me in a fictional setting to have those same type of emotional ties to the characters. But I definitely do get to that point, especially if I can relate to the character a little bit more, or certain things that they go through will really strike emotions with me. Anything with animals, very like tragic, and I'm like, no, don't write that, please. Anyway, but yeah, so
Remind me, do you reread at all or on a regular basis?
I haven't, because I don't really have the time to, but I would. I'm not against it.
Because for me, another component or another aspect that I love about any of my favorite books is just when I reread one that I want to reread, that is telling that I love this story so much. And the more I reread something, the more I get out of it.
Yeah.
Because obviously I could read one book 1 month and 6 months later I change as a person, however minutely.
Right.
So my perspective is going to change. The
Yeah.
text stays the same. The words on the page stay the same, but my perception of what I'm reading and everything going on around me has changed. So I might zone in on something a little bit more closely. I might, realize, oh, I missed something from last time, or I got even more out of this particular scene than I did the first time. And I just, even if it's just one book like Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, my favorite book of all time, I have read that book now 5 times. And I literally get something new out of it every single time. When I discuss it with people, I get something new out of it. And I think that's the power of literature, regardless of whether it's fantasy, romance, horror, whatever, is the ability that it has to speak to us on the individual, almost cellular level. And when you connect with something, whether it be romance or fantasy or what have you, like that's a powerful thing.
I'm feeling no pressure at all to read Spare Cuts next month.
It's fine if you don't like it. If you give it anything less than 5 stars, don't tell me. Otherwise, we're done, Anitha. We're done.
It's over.
No pressure
Friendship
at all.
over. Well, I do want to respect both of y'all's time. Anitha, you said that you need to leave at 9. So if you guys could spitfire favorite romances and favorite fantasies, as that's our 2 main topics. Now, I don't have a favorite romance at this point, but
Not
I feel like
Center?
Not Catherine Center, no.
I'm sorry, did you say 5 favorite romances or just 1?
I said spitfire your...
Spitfire, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I heard it as like 5. Okay.
So obviously Spear Cuts Through Water. The Winter Night Trilogy, so Baron the Nightingale by Catherine Arden is the first book. Assassin's Apprentice and All of Rome of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. Tyrant Philosophers by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Although Bearhead by Adrian Tchaikovsky is one of the most infuriating books on the planet, even though that's sci-fi. Romances, Persuasion by Jane Austen, Happy Place by Emily Henry, Swift and Saddle by Lila Sage, and Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood. If you don't like smut, don't read Not in Love. It's basically erotica.
Okay.
So
I am going to read it and then I'll complain to you.
okay.
The whole time.
Okay, me. I mean, everyone knows my all-time favorite series is Long Press Quartet by Daniel Ibrahim. First book is A Shadow in Summer, which I totally understand. Not everyone likes it in terms of the setting, in terms of the pacing. Why I'm giving us a question. Let's talk fast. and I what is the series? Oh my god, Broken Heart Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. And I love uh, what is wrong with me? I'm forgetting all series names. Legwin's Earthsea,
Yes.
Oh, was it
uh,
Earthsea?
both Toms of
Earthsea
it.
Cycle?
Yeah,
Okay.
Earthsea Cycle, I think. Toms of It One, Tehanu, even short stories. I one of my favorites.
I will second that, by the way. Continue, Anitha. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I love Farsi trilogy by Robin Hobb, obviously. I'm trying to think of and coming to romance. I mean I read only few. I just started. I think for now, book lovers, funny story. Those two are definitely my favorite out of everything I read. I am liking. I read Swift and Saddle. I liked it as well, but I could see its flaws as well. I mean, but I loved it. I mean, it's fun time. I read it in half a day. Actually, I listened to it in half a day.
That is one of the really nice things about romance books. Is like breeze through them. But sci-fi and fantasy, which one of the reasons why I love them is they're so complex. But sometimes it's a real headache to try to picture what they're trying to
World
talk
build in
about.
your head.
Yeah, yeah. World building in the head is crazy.
Oh,
Um,
by the way, sorry, I also listened to. I think Sara Desai is the other name. Indian American. So the main female characters are Indian American. So it's all weddings, big family, cousins, all weddings are like Indian culture. So that was fun for me to read. Actually, something I knew, the setting I knew, the culture I knew. They're fun for me too as
oh, that's really nice. I'd be interested in that as well. I think that sounds really fun. Um, for myself, for fantasy, is Lord of the Rings. Obviously, grew up with it, and then reading it as an adult, love it, especially the religious allegories. Um, I haven't finished it yet, but Faithful and the Fallen is going to be one of my favorites. Liza
That's
Locke-Lamora is
John
one.
Gwynn, right?
Mhm. Liza Locke-Lamora is one of my favorite books of all time. Assassin's Apprentice is one of my favorite books of all time. Um, and A Game of Thrones is also one of my favorite books, despite its problems. It's got some great elements.
Oh gosh, I forgot to say A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. It's one of my top books of the year. Maybe my top book of the year so far.
Ooh, I forgot to say Castle Italian by Bujold.
I think you guys are going to be in the comments. I forgot to say this one. I forgot to say this one.
Ooh, Windhaven by. But that is not fantasy, okay? That's science fiction.
It's okay. A lot of the times the genres they blend a little, sci-fi and fantasy. Well, it's 9:02 now. I'm sorry, Anitha.
No, it's okay.
But I thank you guys so much for being here and chatting with me and helping to convince me to read romance and helping this intervention that I have here.
Were we successful?
I'd say yes. I will definitely be asking you guys about more specific recommendations because I feel like if I just read all the popular ones, they're not they may not necessarily be for me. But since you both know my qualms with it, then you might be able to go, this one's the one, or this one's the one that makes more sense. I need to read Jane Austen. That's for sure. I do
mean,
need to read.
of course,
Prejudice.
Evie is the expert, but I act as the expert. Please read Pride and Prejudice.
Always recommend Pride and Prejudice or Emma or Northanger Abbey as your starting points.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, all of you who are watching, thank you so much. And if you're not already subscribed to Evie and Anitha, please do, and chat with them in the comments. They'll be over at Alan and Jimmy's channel too. So, but yeah, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a great one. God
Thanks
bless.
for having me, Noel.
Of
Thank
course.
you.